Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here. Tonight is going to be the night of wrestling. I had a horrible day at work, but I'm home now, and tonight is going to be brought to you by none other than Malibu. A good friend of the Stevie Breach channel here will be kicking back. Who knows what kind of wrestling we're going to be watching tonight, but we're going to be watching a shit ton. I thought tonight I would catch up on my WWE Network reviews. Last night, I watched a pay-per-view. In Your House, #1. I mainly watched this just because I was thinking about that damn house. I'm sure a lot of you guys subscribe to the WWE YouTube channel and the show that I can't remember what it's called. It's hosted by Joey Styles, and it doesn't even have a regular day that it gets released. They did one, I don't know, weeks ago. They did another one, a few weeks after that. I don't know if it's bi-weekly or once a month or what the deal is. They go into that big-ass warehouse that WWE has where they store all the stuff. Right before WrestleMania, they showed off the WrestleMania 1 ring that's still there. The ropes were a little bit, they needed to be taped up or whatever it was, but they still have the standing ring with all of the turnbuckles from WrestleMania 1. And in another one, they showed off the SmackDown fist where they actually put it together and told the story about how basically they have to have their own, basic semi-truck to tow that fist around back in the day. I would love to see the return of SmackDown just to have the fist for, I don't know what you're going to call it, throwback SmackDown or old school SmackDown. They don't give a shit to me. But Joey Styles, I want to see the house from In Your House, because that is the reason why I wanted this. I want to see that house on some sort of a pay-per-view someday. So just basically to see the house, I watched this. I don't know, last year, maybe even longer than ago, WWE put out a DVD, Best of In Your House. And that was a really good set, and I thought that this was going to be good. I started this off, and I watched Bret Hart vs. Rikishi, and, I was in a Skype call, and I mentioned that I was watching Razor Ramon against Jeff Jarrett and the Roadie, and Miguel, freaking 88, knew right away what I was watching, and said, "Why are you watching that? That show is horrible." And it just came down to, I didn't know what else to watch. I sort of abandoned my NWO WCW pay-per-view run. I want to get back on that. I think the WrestleMania pay-per-views that I was watching, trying to get as many WrestleMania reviews up for that playlist. I think that sort of threw me off, and I'll get back to that, but I just wanted to watch some random shows. In Your House was an awesome concept. Basically, it was a Sunday pay-per-view. It wasn't a Survivor Series. It wasn't a WrestleMania. It wasn't your top-notch card. It was a little bit better than Raw. Looking back on this and watching this, it felt like watching Raw. But basically, as a kid, in 1995, when this show came on, it was a cheaper pay-per-view. I believe it was only a $25 one. It was a little bit easier. You bugged your dad all day on a Sunday about, the show's coming on, you want to get it. Dad thinks about it, $20, the kid's going to shut up. I got to watch a few of these back in my day, long story short. But basically, looking back and watching, In Your House #1, besides for the great match, Hakushi versus Bret Hart, honestly, it feels like watching a pay-per-view. I'm sorry, not a pay-per-view. It feels like watching a Monday Night Raw from the 1995 time period. A little bit better matches, stacks all the way through, but nothing really happens that really means anything. In Your House 1 falls right after WrestleMania 11, but right before King of the Ring 1995. One thing that really shows forth, that coming was the push of Mabel and the King of the Ring that he would win in the next month, which led to him, main eventing main eventing SummerSlam in a mega fail of one of the worst SummerSlams of all time. Basically, Bret Hart versus Hakushi was set up as a match that, Hakushi was like a villain hired, I guess you can say, by Jerry Lawler. If Bret Hart beat Hakushi, he got to move on and have a one-on-one match with Jerry Lawler. We've seen matches like this all throughout the 80s, mostly with guys having to beat somebody to get 5 minutes alone with Bobby the Brain Heenan or something like that. Everybody knows the Weasel matches that Ultimate Warrior had with him. You've seen stuff like this 1,000 times. Hakushi was a great worker. I know that he did some stuff in WWF in this time period. I think he was in ECW for a good little minute. I don't know what happened to this guy, but he was awesome. He was really, really good. I always really liked him. He never really stood out as a main eventer, but he had these body tattoos that went like in a straight line all the way down from his face, all the way down his stomach and his abs, and they just were no, fucking attractive's not the word. I haven't even started drinking yet, but they just caught your eye and they drawed you in. Bret won this match, and after he was celebrating with this match, really weird opening match. Bret Hart gets the win, and the place goes bananas for 1995 period with just fireworks going off everywhere. Really, really weird. I know that we watched a In Your House, I believe it was number 6, and then like the semi-main, Shawn Michaels wins a match, not even for the championship. And before the main event, Shawn Michaels gets a huge old ovation. This was more fireworks than there was in the opener, more fireworks than there was at the end of the show. So, I don't know. This time period, it was almost like Diesel was the champion, and Bret Hart was like that legend. Almost the role that they wanted Hulk Hogan to be in. Where, like, WrestleMania 6 rolled around. Warrior got the title. Warrior was going to be that champion. People were still going to go to the shows, and they were going to be supported by Hulk Hogan because he was the legend that everything was really going to be built around. That never really worked out. Warrior's run didn't last as long as a lot of people did. I don't know, everybody's seen the Warrior documentary, everybody's seen the self-destruction of Ultimate Warrior, they know how that really plays out, but Hitman was sort of like the Hulk Hogan of this, since, I think at this point, Bret was wrestling for WCW at the time. In the next match was Razor Ramon going up in a handicap match against Jeff Jarrett and the Roadie. This one, they just sort of, had a match 2-on-1. You can think of what was going on. Jeff Jarrett tried to lock in the figure 4 on Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon basically, reversed it by, giving a kick to Jeff Jarrett, which means he bumped into the Roadie. Ramon picked up the Roadie and did the Razor's Edge, I think is what happened. And he got the 1-2-3. He was able to win this handicap match. But after it was over, basically Jarrett was able to outman Razor Ramon with the 2-on-1. He was able to strap in the figure 4. Aldo Montoya, he came running down there. The Man of War, a.k.a. Just Incredible, with the underwear over his head. Basically, he tried to get in there, but he got bumped out of there. And because of that, Savio Vega came running down to make the save for Razor Ramon. Savio Vega, mostly known for the guy who really got Stone Cold Steve Austin as the ringmaster into shape when he came over from ECW and came back with a tricep surgery. You listen to the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast, he puts over Savio Vega all the time in those long series of matches that they had. From there, Mabel squashed Adam Bomb in his qualifying match. This was the start of his big push. Mo was still with him, like in a managerial role. Oscar had sort of hit the bricks. Everybody has seen interviews with him. He just didn't want to stick around. He didn't want to turn heel. He felt that if he went out and he did radio and worked on his rap thing, he'd make more money. And I don't think we ever really saw him again in wrestling ever again. After that, Owen Hart and Yokozuna had a match against the Smoking Guns for the Tag Team Championship. Yokozuna hit the big leg on one of the guns and rolled it up. Smoking Gun matches are always pretty good. Yokozuna and Owen Hart matches weren't always my favorite, because it was always like Owen did all the work and Yoko just did sort of like the big splash sort of thing. They were a good tag team. They just didn't have the best matches. Smoking Guns, they were always pretty entertaining. Because Bret Hart got the win over Hakushi in the opener, he got to have his match with Jerry Lawler that he promised and he would give off to his mother, and he would go out and have a good show, since this is based on Mother's Day. It is the day the sexual pay-per-view happened. Mother's Day is a kiss of death to all wrestling pay-per-views of all time. I think the last time TNA tried to run one, there's no good way, unless you're, older or single or something like that, to try and get off watching a wrestling pay-per-view on Mother's Day. I wouldn't even try it. Don't try it. But basically, Bret came out there. When he jumped off the ring in the opener against Hakushi, he faked a knee injury. He thought that was the only way that he was going to be able to goat Jerry Lawler into this. Jerry Lawler came down. He had his mother, and a hired actress that was probably half of his age, who looked very, very beautiful, kind of girl that you would think Mark Merrow or Triple H in the Hunter Hearst Helmsley days would bring down to the ring in that sort of black sequin dress. Basically, Bret came out right before the thing. Pettengill asked him, what's it going to be like going out there with your injured leg? And Hart, gave him the wink and said, it's going to be all right. And that was like the sort of thing, like, he knew that was the only way Jerry Lawler was actually going to show up for the match. We had seen At SummerSlam, Jerry Lawler faked the injury. He brought Doink out there as a replacement. Bret Hart beat Doink, and then Lawler used the crutches that he had. It's sort of a situation that they'd seen before. And in the main event. Oh, I didn't even say. Bret Hart got screwed up in this match. Hakushi came down, the guy that was the manager of Hakushi. Everybody was sort of, getting everything all screwed up. Hebner got tied up in the ropes. He actually was tied up in the ropes and he was hanging upside down. Hakushi jumped off the top rope, giving a flying headbutt, Chris Benoit style. And then basically Lawler was able to pin Bret Hart and he got screwed on Mother's Day and everybody feels bad and the heel gets the win. In the main event, we saw your champion Diesel go up against Psycho Sid. Basically, typical big man match. Nothing really that spectacular here. Diesel won by disqualification when he was going to hit Psycho Sid with the jackknife powerbomb. Tatanka and Ted DiBiase ran out there and they put the boots to Diesel. Basically, this was a DQ. Crappy finish in a match, but you only paid $20 for it. You didn't feel that bad. It made you want to come back, and it made you want to buy the next pay-per-view, which would be the King of the Ring. I believe Psycho Sid got the rematch, if I'm not 100% sure. But it was fun seeing Tatanka out there as the heel. I always sort of forget about him in that role. I wish I saw more of Tatanka. It was rumored that he was going to show up at that WrestleFest show. And, oh, wow. The main event of the King of the Ring after the next match was Diesel and Bam Bam Bigelow against Tatanka and Psycho Sid in a tag match. There wasn't even a title match on that show. Ugh. Sorry, guys. That sucks. But it is what it is. I'm not saying to go out of your way to watch this show. It wasn't even that great. It was good. It's better than watching a Monday Night Raw from 1995. But that's the review. Everybody enjoy it. Peace out.